The day was quiet in Glasgow, almost too quiet for late autumn. The air hung heavy with drizzle, the kind of soft Scottish rain that blurs everything it touches. Sam Heughan stood by the window of his apartment, coffee growing cold in his hand, eyes lost somewhere far beyond the skyline. For years, his life had been framed by lights and cameras, smiles, red carpets, adoring fans. But that morning, he didn't feel like an actor or a star. He felt like a man about to tear open a wound that had never really healed. His phone vibrated on the table. A message from his manager flashed on the screen. "Are you sure about going public, Sam? Once this is out, there's no turning back." He read it twice, then placed the phone down without replying. He wasn't sure, but he was done hiding. The truth had a way of haunting him in the quietest moments, in the echo of applause, in the smiles of strangers, in the soft glow of studio lights. And now, after nearly a decade of silence, it was time to speak. To the world, Sam was strength embodied, the rugged Highland warrior, the charming gentleman, the man who seemed untouchable. But behind that image was a secret he buried long before Outlander ever made him a household name. He had been 21 when his life first splintered. His mother had fallen gravely ill, something he never spoke of publicly, and the world around him, full of ambition and hope, began to close in. He had just been accepted into the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland, a dream come true. He was supposed to be starting his life. Instead, he found himself spending nights at hospital corridors, the smell of antiseptic and despair settling into his clothes. "I'm proud of you, Sammy," his mother had whispered one night, her voice frail, "but don't lose yourself in pretending to be someone else." At the time, he hadn't understood what she meant. Acting was all he'd ever wanted, it was his escape, his armor. But later, when she was gone, he realized the cruel irony. Pretending was exactly how he survived. Years later, when Outlander took off, the world saw him as Jamie Fraser, the hero, the romantic, the dream. The media loved him, fans adored him. But fame had a way of amplifying loneliness. In interviews, he smiled. On set, he laughed. At premieres, he played the role of himself, the polished version, the one the world wanted. Yet every night when the lights went out, he would return to the same silence that had followed him since that hospital corridor. People thought his life was perfect. They saw the muscles, the charm, the adventure. What they didn't see were the sleepless nights, the panic before stepping onto a red carpet, the weight of grief he never allowed to surface. Sometimes he would stand in front of the mirror, still wearing Jamie Fraser's costume, and whisper to his reflection. "Who are you now?" The man in the mirror never answered. It was only a month ago, cleaning through an old box of scripts and memorabilia, that Sam found the letter. Folded and yellowed with age, tucked between a pile of photographs, it bore his mother's handwriting. "My dearest Sam, if you're reading this, it means I couldn't tell you what I needed to in time. There's something you deserve to know, about where you come from, and why I had to raise you alone." His hands trembled as he read. The words blurred as tears filled his eyes. "You were never meant to carry this pain. Your father didn't leave because he stopped loving us. He left because he had to, because of me, and the mistakes I made. Please, don't let my silence become yours." Sam had stopped reading after that. The rest of the letter lay unopened on the kitchen table for days, mocking him with its quiet truth. He had spent his entire life believing his father abandoned them. It had shaped his every decision, his distrust of love, his relentless drive, his need to prove himself. And now, suddenly, the foundation of that pain was cracking open. That morning in Glasgow, the weight of it all pressed against his chest like a storm refusing to pass. He turned on the camera he had set up by the window. No makeup, no script, no production crew. Just Sam, the rain, and the truth. He took a deep breath and began recording. Hi, everyone. I'm not sure how to start this. I've been thinking about it for a long time, years, actually. I've spent most of my life pretending to be strong, pretending that everything was fine. But it's not. It hasn't been for a long time. He paused, looking down, the weight of his confession heavy in his voice. There's something I've hidden, not because I wanted to lie, but because I was scared. Scared of what you'd think. Scared that if I showed you who I really am, you'd stop believing in me. His voice cracked. The truth is, I've carried grief and guilt since I was 21. My mother passed away, and I never really let myself mourn. I thought if I just worked harder, if I became successful enough, maybe I could fill that hole. But you can't fill grief with fame. He swallowed, fighting to steady his breath. And recently, I learned something that changed everything I believed about my past. I found a letter, from her. A letter that told me my father didn't abandon us. He was protecting us. From what? I don't even fully know yet. But it means I've been angry at a ghost all these years. He stared into the lens, eyes wet. So, I'm done pretending. I'm done being strong just for the sake of appearances. If you've ever looked at me and thought I had it all together, please know, I didn't. I was just trying to survive. For a long moment, he said nothing. Just the sound of the rain filled the room. Then, quietly, I don't know where this goes from here, but I want to live honestly, finally. For her, for him, for me. He ended the recording, exhaled deeply, and sat there in silence. Outside, the rain turned into a storm. Inside, for the first time in years, he let himself cry. The video was never meant to go public. Sam had recorded it in the quiet of his flat, thinking maybe one day he would release it, or maybe he wouldn't. It was supposed to be for him, a confession to the universe, a letter to no one and everyone at once. But the next morning, when he opened his phone, his world was already on fire. His publicist had called 7 times. His inbox was full. Twitter was a hurricane of hashtags. Hashtag Sam Heughan Truth. Hashtag We Stand With Sam. Hashtag Hidden Pain. Someone, he didn't know who, had uploaded the video. The raw, trembling confession. The tears. The letter. It was all out there, and the world had seen it. At first, he felt panic. His hands shook. His stomach turned cold. Oh God, he whispered to himself, scrolling through comments that flooded in faster than he could read them. Some were full of love. Sam, thank you for being so real. You're not alone. Others were more invasive, speculative, cruel. What is he hiding? Is this just a publicity stunt? By noon, every entertainment outlet in the UK had picked up the story. Outlander star's heartbreaking confession rocks fans worldwide. Sam Heughan reveals family secret. He had become the headline he never wanted. He stayed inside that day, blinds drawn, the phone still vibrating on the table every few seconds. Then came a knock at the door. Sam? It was Katrina Balfe, his Outlander co-star and longtime friend. She stepped in quietly, wrapped in a thick coat, her eyes full of concern. I saw the video, she said softly. You okay? He tried to smile. Define okay. She came closer, sat beside him on the couch. I think, part of you's been wanting to say all that for a long time. He looked down at his hands. Maybe, but not like this. I didn't want it to become a circus. Hey, she touched his arm gently. People love you. They're not judging. They're listening. Her words landed somewhere deep inside him. For years, he had been surrounded by people, crew members, fans, interviewers, but rarely heard. Do you know what's strange? He murmured. I thought when I said it out loud, I'd feel lighter. But I don't. It's like, the silence has been replaced by noise. Katrina nodded. That's grief, Sam. It doesn't go away just because you speak it, but it changes shape. You gave it a voice. That night, unable to sleep, he sat at his desk and unfolded the letter again. The part he hadn't yet read. His mother's handwriting trembled across the paper. If you ever find him, don't hate him. He was forced to leave because of debts I couldn't repay. But know this, Sam, he wanted to stay. He wanted to see you grow. And if fate ever brings you the chance to forgive him, do it. Not for him, but for yourself. Below, a name was scrawled hastily. Find John Heughan. Edinburgh. Sam's heart clenched. John Heughan. His father, he hadn't heard that name in over 30 years. The last memory he had was of a tall man walking down a muddy road one gray morning, turning back once to wave before vanishing into the fog. For years, he had convinced himself that memory was a dream. Now, it felt like the beginning of everything. By the following week, the storm online had shifted. What started as shock had become empathy. Fans sent letters, messages, drawings. Some shared their own stories of loss and silence. And amid that noise, one message stood out. It was from a small community center in Edinburgh. Mr. Heughan, I saw your video. I believe I know the man you're looking for. He volunteers here sometimes. Name's John. Keeps to himself, but he's spoken of a son, an actor he's proud of, though he never says the name. Sam read the message 3 times before he could breathe. His pulse raced. Could it be? After all these years? He sat there for a long time, the city lights flickering outside his window. Then, slowly, he picked up his phone and booked a train ticket to Edinburgh. The train ride north felt surreal. He wore a cap and hoodie, hoping not to be recognized, but a few passengers still glanced his way. Someone whispered, "That's him," and he offered a polite smile before turning back to the window. The Scottish countryside rolled by, wet fields, stone cottages, a patchwork of memories. Every mile felt like peeling back another layer of his past. When he arrived, the sky was the color of steel. A cold wind swept through the narrow streets. He followed the address from the email to a modest community center tucked between old buildings. The sign above the door faded but still legible. Hope House. Inside, the scent of soup and old wood filled the air. Volunteers moved quietly, handing out meals to the homeless. "Excuse me," Sam said to the woman at the reception desk. "I'm looking for someone named John. He volunteers here." She blinked in surprise, recognizing him instantly, but to her credit, she said nothing about his fame. Instead, she smiled gently. "You must mean John Heughan. He's in the back garden. He likes to fix the benches." Sam's throat tightened. He thanked her and stepped outside. The garden was small, bordered by ivy-covered walls. At the far end, a man knelt beside a broken bench, tools scattered beside him. His hair was white, his shoulders slightly bent, but there was something unmistakable about him. The way he moved, the quiet concentration. Sam stood frozen. For a moment, time folded in on itself. He took a slow breath. "Excuse me, John?" The man turned. His eyes, pale blue and full of surprise, widened as if seeing a ghost. "Sam?" The sound of his name in that voice, familiar and strange, hit him like a wave. I wasn't sure it was you," Sam whispered. John stood slowly, his hands trembling. "I didn't think I'd ever see you again." For a long moment, neither spoke. The rain began to fall lightly, just as it had the morning his father left. Finally, Sam broke the silence. "Why did you go?" John's voice cracked. "Because I thought it was the only way to keep you safe. Your mother, she was in trouble, Sam. I owed money to people who would have hurt her. I had to disappear." Sam's eyes burned. All these years, you let me think you didn't care. John stepped closer, tears streaking his weathered face. Every day I wanted to come back. Every night I prayed you'd forgive me. The silence between them filled with rain, regret, and something else, recognition. Sam didn't know if he could forgive him yet, but for the first time, he wanted to try. He reached out, and his father took his hand. The drizzle turned to a downpour, but neither of them moved.